sea of red, it's time for another Fireside Chat, the official podcast of Flames fans. It's go time.
What a difference a week makes for the Calgary Flames. As always, I'm Dan alongside Matt. And Matt, this is episode 400 for us. Can you believe it?
I know. We just keep rambling on and on and on and on.
14 seasons. We've been doing this since you listened to podcasts on iPods.
Yeah, that's where the name came from. But now, hey.
Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge, you and I couldn't do this without other people, one of them being our editor, Peter Marino, who people don't see or hear from every week, but he's one of the driving forces on the show. I want to thank Beasley, who we just heard from doing our intro. He's always been a big supporter of us. And for everyone that's written in with messages, with, questions, people that have talked to us on social media, everyone that listens every week. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for all you guys. So thanks for everyone that supported us. And Matt, I don't know if we'll get to another 400 before the Flames win the Cup. I hope not. But I guess we'll see how long it takes.
Yep.
Let's jump
Hopefully
into this.
Some positive things will happen in the next 400 episodes that didn't happen in the first 400.
That's right. That's right. Yep. And let's hope it doesn't take 400 to get to the.
Well, and to be
Cup.
fair, we were entering a rebuild the first time.
We were entering the salary cap era the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we've entered, and it's like playing the hokey pokey. You put your rebuild in, put your rebuild out. You've never quite rebuilt here in Calgary, but that's another story. Well, let's look at this week, and a much better week for the Flames this week. They had 3 games in the docket. The first one was against the St. Louis Blues. Calgary lost here he lost this one 3-2. Here was a close game for the two teams. They were in St. Louis. What were your thoughts on this one?
The Flames came out flat, I felt, and fell down early and often. They went down 3-0. Only like 7 minutes into the second period. They did fight to get back into the game, making it 3-2 with 2 goals in 25 seconds, with about 6 minutes remaining in the second period. And they tried. They threw a lot of pucks at Binnington, but could not find the equalizer.
Binnington made 38 saves in this one, which is quite a bit. Yeah, I think based on what you're saying, I would agree they came out flat. I think this is what we often see from the Flames, it feels like, which is they come out flat, and then by the time they start to get rolling, it's just too late.
Yeah, and we saw that all last year, too. The only difference, really, between last season and this year is we're not finding that late third period comeback goal that has been the staple of this team through last season as they came close to making the playoffs.
Yep, and this was a team you and I said that the Flames needed to be able to come out and if not be competitive with, and I guess on the scoreboard they were, but I think the fact that they were flat, they didn't play a great game, and they were, I guess, still able to put 38 shots in mid, and I don't know if that says something about the Flames or says less about St. Louis's defense.
Yeah.
But then they came back home for the next game against the San Jose Sharks here in the Dome. Wolf only had to make 17 saves in this one as the Flames stomped all over the Sharks. So the Sharks are a team that they're looking good. They've had a good couple seasons or a good couple weeks so far this season. We've seen them moving up season by season, getting a little bit better. Flames were in control all night here.
Yeah, this was one where, even though the Flames were controlling the play, I felt that, San Jose didn't really allow the Flames into getting too many dangerous chances, and it was only really the Coleman goal that basically broke through. I didn't feel that Askarov had to make a ton of good saves for the Sharks, even though he made 34 saves. Frankly, if we had played anybody other than San Jose, the Flames would have lost this one. Even though they did completely dominate, San Jose just could not get one foot in front of the other at all.
I think you're right that they probably wouldn't have beat other teams with this effort, but I think there was a lot of good things that the Flames wrote into the next game, and I wanted your thoughts on this. I think this could have been the captain's best game of the season. Michael Backlund was all over it. He looked like he knew what he had to do. Backlund's not a high scorer, especially at this point in his career, but he was doing all the things they needed him to do as that, two-way forward all night.
I agree. That whole line was excellent, and they were the only guys that actually registered anything on the score sheet, with Coleman getting the first goal unassisted, Honzek with the empty netter assisted by Backlund.
Honzek scored on his birthday, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then we also saw Rory Cairns in the lineup for this one, called up before the game, and he has been playing center. He played center a little bit last season when he was brought up, played center for the Wranglers, but he was put onto the left wing in this one. Kind of an interesting choice with Kadri and Klapka. I think this was the better of the two games for Rory Cairns this week. What did you think?
Actually, I kind of felt that line struggled for most of the game. Like, they would control the play, but, like, actually setting up shots, I felt that they had a little bit of a challenge. Like, at least anything that was dangerous, anyway.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think Cairns probably looked better with two veterans around him than he would have otherwise, especially playing on the second line. But, yeah, it wasn't... That line was not the impact line of the night.
No.
And Kieran's was playing on the left wing with Kadri and Farabee, and then I think they put Klapka there last game. So, he's playing with some guys that know the NHL game. I still don't know what Rory Cairns is. I don't know if he is a top six forward. I don't know if he's a bottom six forward. I don't know if he's a tweener. But it's nice to see that the Flames, they could have brought up a Dryden Hunt, but they're bringing in those young guys they want to evaluate, right? We've seen that with Kuznetsov. We're seeing that with Cairns. I think that's really good to see.
Well, yeah, and they need to evaluate whether these guys can actually stick in the NHL, so that way, if and when they do move people out, they can know that those guys can actually be relied on to play a passable NHL player spot. Because you have so many younger guys coming up through the organization that are going to be knocking on the door, and if it's basically now or never for guys like Cairns, like Kuznetsov. If they don't push their way into the NHL, they kind of just get passed and are, kind of looked at as just AHL depth only and not looked at as anything more important than that.
Yep. Do you think it's fair to say in this one that, even though the Flames probably wouldn't have won with this effort against somebody else, San Jose did the Flames a lot of favors here. I think San Jose, this is one of the worst offensive efforts I've seen from a visiting team in the Dome in a long time.
Well, like halfway through the third period, the Sharks only had 7 shots.
Yeah, 17 total shots.
Yeah, they managed to get a bunch in the second half of the third period, but...
usually the Flames are the worst of the two teams on the face-off dot. Flames got 62.2% face-off wins.
Yeah, it honestly felt like a team that had been on a 10-game road trip, and it was the last one before they could finally go home, and they're like, we don't give a single shit. We just want to get home. Hell with everything. Hell with everybody.
Yeah, no,
we're punching our time clock. Yes, we actually showed up.
I was surprised how bad San Jose looked. They're not a great team, but I was just surprised how poor they were.
That was one of the single worst performances I think I've ever seen by a team playing in Calgary ever. That wasn't us.
No, I don't know that the Flames played exceptional. I think San Jose did the Flames a lot of favors to get the Flames these 2 points, but...
Yeah, honestly, I felt like the Flames' effort was pretty consistent through the week with all 3 of the games, where, they were just there and, taking shots and trying to generate what they could. But, the Sharks just had no pulse at all. They kind of gave a little bit of a pushback, with 8 or 9 minutes left, where Wolf actually had to make a couple saves, but that was the easiest shutout that he'll ever get in his career.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Enjoy the shutout because it's the easiest one you'll get. And then the Flames on Saturday night as part of Hockey Night in Canada had the Winnipeg Jets come to town, a team very different from the last two, and that the Jets are actually a good team this year. And I was impressed that Calgary was able to hold on for the shootout in this. Like, I thought the Jets were going to come in and run over the Flames. I don't know if it's the confidence they got from the San Jose game, but when you watch this game, you think, wow, like, the Flames can do this when they want to.
Yeah, and this was actually the final meeting between these two teams already. We've actually played them 3 times.
That's crazy.
The 20th, the 24th of October, and now the 15th of November. And we'll see you next year. The Jets won all 3 games. This was an odd game. Like, I felt that, well, frankly, like, the Flames didn't really score either of their first 2 goals. They were redirected by Jets players into the net. And honestly, it felt like the San Jose game, just with the other team. Like, it was a very chaotic game like San Jose's was, where both teams were making defensive breakdowns and turnovers galore. And the giveaways ended up being 19-17, which is very high. It just seemed very sloppy, and the only difference is that the two teams were actually able to capitalize on some of the shots. And I still do not know what the Jets defense was thinking, leaving 2 guys alone in front of the net with a minute left in the game, leaving Hellebuck high and dry on that one. But
you know what? At this point, the Flames need every point they can get, and being able to hang out with the Jets to get that point, I think says something about this team.
Yep.
I was kind of surprised in the shootout that they shot Anderson third.
Well, he's been a fairly consistent presence in the shootout for the Flames, because he's one of the few guys that can score in the shootout.
What we've seen this season from him, I'm not sure I would have put him in there.
Yeah, the effort that he had in the shootout, maybe you go in a different direction next time, but not much you can do.
They still got a point.
Yep.
So with that, now the Calgary Flames still at 10th in the Western Conference and tied for
15th or 16th.
Yeah, still at the bottom of the. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, 16th, 10th in the wild card race, 16th overall. They're still last in the league. The Flames have 13 points now after 20 games, 5 wins, 12 losses, 3 overtime losses for a total of 13 points. Right above them is Nashville at 16, St. Louis at 16, Buffalo at 16. Toronto at 18. The Flames, I was hoping after picking up some points would dig themselves out of this. They got 3 of a possible 6 this week. But, I mean, they're 3. I don't know if it's good to say, but we're 3 points away from passing Buffalo. Like, they're still firmly at the bottom.
Yeah, honestly, they now need to win all 7 of the remaining games this month just to have a pulse. Walking into December. The odds of them winning more than 5 is, next to 0. So, given the quality and caliber of the opponents, the dreaded Florida road trip plus Carolina, those are not going to be easy games. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well, let's talk about that. So, I mean, we saw the Flames, I think, play 2.5 decent games this week. I think they played a good game against Winnipeg. I think they played a good enough game against San Jose. And I think while they started flat against St. Louis, I think they came around even though it was a little too late. We're seeing that when the Flames want to play hockey, they can. Why do you think it's taken them so long to realize this?
Well, frankly, just, the natural regression from last year. I can count at least 5 or 6 games this year where if it was a season ago, they would have got the late tying goal and either won it in overtime or the shootout or managed to get the secondary goal in regulation. And, if you say add 7 or 8 points to their point total, which is roughly what they would have got last year, instead of being dead last, you're right in the mix of a playoff spot, 1 point out of being 10th in the NHL. And just in that same mushy middle that everybody from 10th to 24th is, that 2 point spread. And, just that not getting those handful of bounces that they created last year by physically wearing down their opponents is the difference. And they're not drastically worse than they were a year ago. If you look at the point totals, most of the guys are basically on pace for the same types of seasons that they had. It's just the timing of the goals and, the lack of them is the lack of the timely goals is the difference.
And that's a fair way to say it. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the same team as last year. And I think, and I'm guilty of this too, we think, oh, wow, the Flames are so close. They're 1 point away. But like you said, there was a lot of things that went right last year. It was kind of the perfect storm of everything that could go right went right, except for making the playoffs. And that's not, I mean, the Flames were not that good going into this.
Yeah.
Right? They were not, even going into last year, they were not that good. I mean, we know they're in a rebuild and they have to go through some rough years, but it's just nice to see that, it's not like this whole lineup has lost the ability to play hockey. Like, we see that they're able to do it. And I think a lot of this is probably also a mental thing. I think that they didn't look at, or even if you listen to the media comments, they didn't seem as defeated going into the Winnipeg game. They didn't seem as, upset with themselves going into the Winnipeg game. I think the San Jose game showed them, wow, we can actually go in there and win a game and, get a shutout.
Yeah, and if you look at how their pace was last year, after 20 games, after their full year pace, they would have had about 54 goals at this point in the season. The Flames currently only have 43. And that's exactly the point. Not getting those timely end of game goals that the Flames were renowned for a year ago. 11 goals, that's like a goal every other game, and how many games have been like a 1 goal difference with the late empty netter. It's one of, say the St. Louis game or the Winnipeg game. If they would have gotten an extra goal there, that could have been 2 extra points, but
that's fair. Yeah, and I guess we'll see, does this continue? Or are the Flames on a bit of a run now? Or, was this an anomaly? And only time will tell us that. We have to wait and see what they do this week. The one thing I did want to talk about for this week, though, is Sam Honzek. We saw in that Winnipeg game, he ran into the captain, Michael Backlund. He left the game after that and didn't return. After practice today, the head coach said that Honzek is now listed as week to week, so he's out of the lineup. He joins Perek and I think that's it. Yeah, in terms of week to week. I guess technically we've still got Possible there, but I even forgot he's a Flame right now. Not on the IR yet. If you were the coach, what would you do to replace that Honzek spot in the lineup?
It's hard, but I think
do you bring up a guy like Dryden Hunt, who's just a steady hand? Do you bring up a young guy like Kieran, who you want to look at?
Yeah, if it was just a 1 or 2 game issue, then I would probably lean towards Dryden Hunt or bring Kirkland back. But with it being week to week, and it being the guy that's been riding shotgun with Backlund and Coleman, I think airlifting Matvei Gradin back into the lineup and sticking him with those two might make the most sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at it, Honzek's mostly been used as a winger, so Gradin can be a winger. I think, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to look here and see who the highest scorers are. Not that it says everything, but who the highest scorers are right now for the Wranglers. I think Gradine, I mean, he started here. He looked good. I think he's a guy you could bring up as well. I think another viable option, because I think they need to get some more eyes on him, could be Sam Morton. Morton's a center. You probably don't want to move him to wing. That's the only reason you might not. But I think that's another guy. I mean, he was one of the last cuts at camp, and I could see them wanting to at least get a look at him.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a winger, maybe Siona. I don't know. I don't know. I think Siona is going to be overmatched at the NHL level right now, but I think Gradine's the logical choice there. I have no idea when Postel's coming back. He's a winger. He could fit in there, but we haven't even heard anything. We haven't seen him on the ice. We haven't heard anything about him. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him this season at this rate.
Yeah, it's hard because Postel's had so many concussions, and it looked like he got a concussion again in preseason. And that's kind of a whenever the guy's cleared situation. And, like we saw with Michael Furland, especially when he moved on from Calgary, how, long he would be out, and then he'd come back, and then he'd be out again. So it's hard to tell exactly if and when Pospisil might return.
Yeah. Would you keep Kieran? I think you're probably more likely to keep Kieran's up here now with Honzek out. Sure. But I'd keep Kieran's up. I don't know. My only worry about bringing Gradine up is where do you put him in the lineup? I don't quite know which line I would break.
Yeah, that's why I think that you just airlift him into Honzek's spot on the Backlund Coleman line and. Say, here, have fun, learn from those two. And,
because I think
that's about the only place that I think you could put him where it's not going to disrupt things.
Yeah, unless you want to do another Kadri and the kids and put Kadri, Kieran's, and Gradine there.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting problem to have. I also wonder if guys like Sharon Govich, who's been on the fourth line for a while, will get a little bit more look up the lineup because of this.
Entirely possible.
He's still not having a great year, but I don't think the Flames are probably ready to just relegate him to the fourth line.
Also, the Flames have already lost 11 games this year by a single goal, or the team scored an empty net goal. So, even if 5 or 6 of those had some magic from last year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So it's not like they're far off of what they were doing a year ago. It's just
not having that luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to say it. Looking at this lineup too, I mean, like we were talking about with Honzek, is there any other roster moves on the front end you'd make right now? I mean, we've seen guys get pulled in and out of the lineup so far. We've seen guys sit who, even Coronado's sat. Is there anybody else at this point that you would say, you know what, we need to get this guy out of the lineup for 1 or 2 games?
Not really. Sharon Govich really has been the only player over the last few weeks I feel that's needed some time off to get his head back in the game. Not much you can say about anybody else. Like guys like Coronado, even though he's not necessarily showing up on the score sheet to the same extent, he is getting in those lanes and taking shots that he was a year ago. It's just he made one shot yesterday where Hellebuck absolutely stoned him. There's not much you can do when good goalie makes a save.
I thought he looked good in that Winnipeg game.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the front end. I think if I had a centerman I wanted to look at, I'd be okay to take Zary out for the night or two. But I'm not in any rush to do so. I don't think coming into this they expected Zary to be their 4C. But I think you could afford to take. You could afford to take him out at this point.
Everybody would have said that something's gone wrong if he's there, but he is.
And I
not
still
had
wonder
a good year.
with Kieran's in the lineup if you try Kieran's at center and Zary back on the wing.
That's also a possibility. I actually
Right,
wouldn't
'cause
mind
now
if Zary got bumped up to the Honzek spot to try and get him going.
I think the Honzek spotter, I mean, we've seen him have chemistry with Kadri before. I think if you were to put, Zary, Kadri, Farabee together, I think you'd have a decent lineup there. But I just wonder how much of this is Kadri or is Zary as a centerman versus Zary as a player.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's a good centerman. And now that you've got a centerman, I don't know why you're playing Rory Cairns on the wing. Like, that's a change I'd probably make.
Yeah, and we saw how much Pospisil struggled a year ago when he got moved into the center ice role. It just could be one of those things where Zary is not an NHL center. It's hard to say. I think he has struggled mightily this year, and it's hard to say whether or not that's him recovering from the 2 leg injuries or what exactly. It's just unfortunate that he is at the spot he's at.
Every time I see him play, though, I'm glad the Flames did a short-term deal.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I'm grateful that Sharon Govich only has 2 more years after this one, too. And
no, he's got more than that. He's under contract till 29-30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he signed that big $5.7 million deal. This is the first year of that deal, I believe. So he's under contract till 29-30. That might be one that could come back and haunt the Flames.
Yeah.
I think by then you'll be fine. 5.75 is not going to be what it is today, cap wise, but yeah, he's here for a long time. And we both liked him in his first year. We thought last year he had a down year because of the injuries. Now it looks like he just might not be the player we expected he was going to be.
Yeah, he has 4 more after this, looking that up, so not so good.
Nope, Farabee's got 2 more after this, but Sharon Govich's got a lot of time. And even Postel's got 3 years after this at 2.5. If he's done, that's money that they're, who knows what they'll do with, but even that's a little rich.
Yeah, and there's not really, if you buy out his Sharon Govich's contract basically at any point, it's going to cost you roughly the same amount every year anyway, just how many extra years you're wanting to spend.
I don't think you ever
$2 million. Yeah.
I don't think he's bad enough to be bought out, especially with the Flames in a rebuild, but I could see him being an expensive 13.
Yeah.
I think they're going to need that kind of money to make the floor potentially next year anyways, especially if we see, some higher priced guys like Coleman out of here, Anderson out of here. If Kadri were to move, that's a huge deal for the Flames to move. I think they're going to need that money. I don't think they can afford to get rid of it, but I don't think that that's going to hinder them from getting anywhere near the cap if they want to spend a cap.
Yeah. Oh, no. And we see all sorts of teams like Utah and San Jose parking contracts.
We saw Carey Price's contract traded, right? Where he's not even playing anymore.
Oh, so we'll see. Hopefully Sharon Govich can turn it around and is just having some early season, on a little bit of a side quest, to say the least, much like Kuzmenko was before he got hot and then traded.
Yep.
So, who knows?
We'll see, but I still think he's a serviceable 4th line guy, but that's not where I'd like to play him. That's not where Sharon Govich should be.
No.
What about on the back end? Kuznetsov, I'm impressed, has stayed on the team. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a 1 or 2 game thing for him, but he's still here, which I think is great. Anybody at this point, as you're sort of saying, this season might be over, that we should pull out and put a young player into?
To be honest, not really. Even guys like Bean and Hanley and Pahal, I feel like are playing like NHL defensemen. And with Kuznetsov playing well as well, I think that the defense position is pretty much stocked for the time being. There's no rush to drag up Brustevich or Grushnikov, or insert any of the young defensemen on the farm.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked a lot about this. I still think you want to bring up a guy to play where you project him to be. It's hard to go from being, Brustevich who's playing, number one minutes in the A to playing, third pair minutes in the NHL. So the only guys I could potentially see that I would like to see at some point, I guess, would be right now Poirier, because he's 23 and you got to figure out what you've got there. I wouldn't move a guy out for him, but I think I'd make him my next call.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to play him. I mean, if you just want a guy for bodies, bring Miramanov back up. He's going to go up and down through waivers, and if he doesn't, well.
He's the next Dryden Hunt, basically.
Yeah, he's the defense Dryden Hunt.
Yeah.
But I think that if you want a guy, I mean, if Bean comes out or Pahal gets injured, like one of your kind of bottom, let's call them bottom three guys, I think Poirier is the guy I'd bring in. I think you're going to do less for Brustevich's development by bringing him in if he's not playing top 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely leave him, in the American League. And obviously Cooley, not changing anything there. He's looked better than I think we all expected. So I think we will see some of these young guys coming in, but I think it's going to be, the Flames are not at a point where they're willing to rip guys out of the lineup and trade them away to make room for young players. That's not going to happen. And not yet. Let's put it that way. Not yet. I think there's a time when it could, but I don't think we're anywhere near that. There's never trades made of significance in November.
No. It's, like even last year with the Flames trading Zadorov, like that was a bit of that's weird that trade got done.
That, I think, was
point.
We got to get this guy out of our dressing room.
Yeah, but like that was literally the first notable trade a couple years ago. That those kind of deals don't happen until usually end of December, early January at the earliest.
Yeah.
Normally.
So I think we're stuck with this team for better or for worse, at least for another couple weeks to see what's going to happen here. But it's going to be an interesting week for them. And if there's nothing else you want to talk about, why don't we look at that interesting week?
Yes.
When was the last time you remember the Flames playing 2 back-to-back sets in the same week?
It's been a while. I know we've done that a few times, but it's been a long time.
It has been. The Flames go back on the road on the 18th and 19th. Oh, yeah, 18th, 19th, as they take on Chicago and Buffalo on the road. 6:30 start for the Chicago game on Tuesday. 5:30 start for the Buffalo game on Wednesday. And then Saturday, they're back home to take on the Dallas Stars. And then the next night, they are in Vancouver for the second of that back-to-back against the Canucks. Last week, you and I both predicted 3 losses. The Flames got 3 out of possible 6 points, so we both lost there, thankfully. What do you think for this week, Matt? 4 games.
I think that they win the Chicago game and then lose the other 3. For whatever reason, the Flames suck in Buffalo. It's been...
The Flames suck in Buffalo almost as much as Buffalo sucks in Buffalo.
True. But I think the Flames have only won there 3 times since the turn of the century. So it's they just find a way to not be good in Buffalo. Yeah.
Mind you, they only play there once a year.
True, but it's not good. So I'm not being a back-to-back, I'm not expecting good results on that one. Should be a fairly sloppy game by both teams. Just, because that's usually how those games are. Yeah, and I don't see the Flames matching up well against either Dallas or Vancouver.
This week's a toss-up for me. I would like to think they could win both of the back-to-backs, but maybe. I mean, Cooley's looking good. I just don't know if the skaters have it in them to win 2 in a row. They're going to get blown out by Dallas. I'm pretty sure of that. The only reason I think they might be able to beat Vancouver is Vancouver's starters out.
Yeah. We'll see.
There's the pundit in me and the fan in me who want different results this week.
Yeah.
The fan in me says you should get 2 wins. The pundit in me says you're lucky to get a win. I'm gonna go Calgary wins Chicago and Vancouver loses Dallas and Buffalo. So they win the corners.
Yeah. I think Cooley plays in Buffalo as the only game he plays this week.
You think they'll put Wolf in both of the back-to-back second set?
Yeah.
I could see a scenario where if Wolf had more action against Winnipeg, I could see a scenario where Cooley played both of those games. But I think you're right. I think Cooley definitely gets the Buffalo game. I don't know. I don't know if I trust... I mean, Cooley's looking good, but I don't know if I want to put him in there against Vancouver or Dallas. I think you've got to run Wolf in both those.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly, because it's kind of like you might as well just put the white flag up at that point in that, against 2 fairly important opponents. And
yeah, both.
Like if you drop the Buffalo game, it's like, oh, an East team got 2 points. Who cares?
Well, an East team that's not going to be fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, after this week, we've got, like you said, the 2 Florida teams and then Carolina, 3 other Eastern teams. But I think you're going to need Wolf for all those.
Yeah. It's not an easy period for this team.
It's not, no.
All 7 of these games are going to be tough in their own right, because you have teams like Chicago, Vancouver, and Buffalo who are trying to get back into that middle zone with everybody else. And... they don't want to fall behind, so like they're going to be desperate to, because Calgary's the easy button on their schedule, that they're going to want to put us away. And
I think the reason I'm thinking Calgary will win Chicago, not Buffalo, outside of the fact they don't do well in Buffalo, I mean, you and I were there. They got blown out 4-0 by Chicago here in the Dome. I think the Flames are going to think they have something to prove there. They have to go out and show they're better than the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
And even though they lost against Winnipeg, I think they're probably feeling more confident after that game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it'll be interesting to see how this team responds. Like, frankly, like if they get 2 wins or more this week, I'll, feel that they might be turning the corner a bit to being more competitive, but we'll see. It could easily be an 0-4 week, as much as
I can totally see this being an 0-4 week. I can honestly, I hate to say it, I can see them not winning again this month.
Yeah, same here. I feel that that's more likely than them going 7-0.
Yeah, I mean they're not going 7-0. We know that's not going to happen. I could see them ending November with no wins. Like this is, even though there's some bad teams there. I mean, they haven't looked great against bad teams besides San Jose. I can totally see this month run away from the Flames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and realistically, being 5-12 and 3 thus far, their margin for error is near 0, and they can't really drop. They've dug themselves such a deep hole that even if they say were to go 7-0 the rest of the way, they'll probably still be in the bottom 5 of the NHL when that time comes.
And I've been reminding fans, you don't need to be the worst team to get the first overall pick.
Yeah,
you need to be in the bottom 5. So yeah, I'd be surprised at this point, based on what we're seeing, if they're not bottom 3.
Yeah. Yeah, because realistically, the only teams that, they're really going to be competing with, I feel, for dead last is Nashville and Buffalo. I feel that every one of the teams above that are well better than them talent-wise and are just off to a slow start. So, and especially, if the Flames start moving out pieces, the wheels will come off the wagon even further.
Yeah, but again, as we've talked about, that's okay in a lot of ways, right? I mean,
for sure.
that's okay. But
Yeah.
I think there's a point in time where you say we're okay to be the bottom now. We're not trying to fight this, and you know what? Let's just, I guess, as we talked about, embrace the rebuild. And
the thing that surprises me more than anything about this season is that 1, 2, 3 in the Pacific is the Los Angeles Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, and the Seattle Kraken. That to me is more startling than where the Flames are.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're seeing, teams like last year, Edmonton, Toronto, right? Teams that were good teams struggling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't necessarily think that all the teams that are number 1, 2, and 3 will stay there, but I think it's interesting that's where we're at this point. I think some of these teams are going to fall off the cliff, and I think a few teams that aren't in there are going to get their act together and put together a decent run. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Before we leave this week, I wanted to leave you with a thought here from Arnie Slot, a former, I think he's the coach of Liverpool, the soccer team. And this was a quote that he gave the media one time after losing 6 out of 7 games they played. He said, "We were very consistent, but the thing is, we were consistently losing." So at least you can say the Flames are a consistent team this year.
Finally.
We're getting some, because we've complained about consistency for a while. Now we're starting to get it.
Yep.
Matt, I think that's
Took only 13 years.
That's right. 13 years to get consistency, but we've got it. We'll see what happens over the next week. I'm not sure what we'll get, but we will talk this time next week and find out.
Yep. And as always, go Flames go.
Fireside Chat is hosted by Dan Stevenson, co-hosted by Matt DeBorg. This episode produced and edited by Peter Marino. Fireside Chat is licensed under Creative Commons license. For full license details, visit firesidechat.ca.